Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner, operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and welcome to our show today. Now, if you've been following us for the last 2 years of our show, you will realize that what we try to do here is we try to take one film in particular, and me and my special guests will kind of dissect, comment, critique, and tell generally our favorite things or things we hate about this film. We only do a single film per episode to give you, the audience, an idea to get a better idea of what we think of the film. Now, that being said, most of my guests on the show are horror fans, aficionados. Some of them are filmmakers. Some of them write books. You get a good idea of the type of people we bring on the show. Now, that being said, I would like to first announce my guest for the show. And before I get to that, also, this is a special episode that will be airing throughout the month of our anthology-themed films, but this one is actually kind of an odd anthology film. But to talk about the film, before I get to the title of the film, I am bringing with me my special guest, Sarah Panazzo. We want to thank her for joining us today. Thank you, Panazzo.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
And the film we are talking about is 2007's Trick or Treat from director Michael Daughtry. This is an unusual film in that it does not take the normal format of an anthology film, yet it is steeped in the themes and the ideals behind what an anthology film is, which is why we decided to highlight it during our anthology month here in the podcast. So that being said, Panazzo, can you tell me a little bit, before we get into the actual film itself, kind of your impressions, your likes, dislikes about this movie, kind of, when you first saw it?
So this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I make sure to watch it every single year. I've got Sam decorated around my house. I remember his rules for Halloween. Sam has become one of the most iconic horror villains in the last couple decades that is new. And he sits up there with like Freddy, Jason, Michael. He is part of the crew. But I remember watching this movie. I remembered hearing about it, and I didn't get to see it at any of the festivals. So once it hit like direct to video in 2009, I remember finding it somewhere online, or I rented it from Blockbuster, and I fell in love and have been in love ever since.
I've been reading about this movie for several years before it came out, and was disappointed that they kept pushing it back. And all I read was all the reviews from people saying it's such an amazing film. Why the heck isn't it gotten the release? And that was like piqued my interest so much that when the film came out and it didn't get a theatrical release, I immediately bought it, or I bought a DVD copy of it. So it's still back then when DVDs were still being sold regularly, unlike now. But I had a DVD copy of it and I immediately watched it. I love this film as well, so much that I've also decided to go out there and get some of the graphic novels that were
Yes.
from this. Yeah. I really love this, and it's a shame that as big a cult movie this film has become in a really short amount of time. Like it was a cult movie before it actually came out, that has never gotten its sequel or anything else. Yet Sam, I don't even call him a villain as so much as like he's like the watcher in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He watches a lot more than he interacts.
Yes.
And which is what I love about that.
But as a horror movie symbol, he has exploded to the point of Halloween Horror Nights has had a couple of houses based on him. He's in all kinds of like horror culture now. I mean, crazy. I've got like little doll versions of him, little statues, bobbleheads, all the comics. I love Sam.
Same here. I have a couple dolls in my house too, or action figures, whatever the hell you want to call them.
Oh no, I have the plushie dolls. So
I don't have the plushie dolls. Oh Jesus! But it is. I don't think there's ever been a horror icon that was taken to this fast, or this much, and it goes to show you that this is just a happy, weird accident, and it just boggles my mind that only us horror fans saw the writing on the wall long before studios and anyone else did. But I'm so glad. Go
This
ahead.
whole movie is an ode to horror films. There are so many references to other things in this. It's just genius.
It is. It is. And you know what? While we're talking about that, we should talk about some of those horror Halloween traditions that kind of come about in this film, because essentially, if you break Halloween traditions, you might be seeing Sam later on in the night.
So first I wanted to start off with, this originated from a short video that Daughtry made in, I think it was 96, called 96, called Season's Greetings. Mm-hmm. He hand drew it all because he is an illustrator, and it was the debut of Sam, and that was kind of where this all started. It evolved into this giant movie, but you end up with this cute little character who they actually have it in this the new 4K release DVD that they have. They have the whole Season's Greetings video you can watch, which is super sweet. But yeah, it starts introducing some of those rules pretty early on.
Yes. But it introduced the rules very subtly, but what I loved about it is that the traditions surrounding Halloween are all relayed by certain characters in the film.
And most characters meet their end by not following these rules.
Yes.
So I actually have a list of the rules that were dictated for the movie. So for the always list, always hand out candy to trick-or-treaters, always wear a costume, always respect the dead, and always check your candy. For the never list, never blow out a jack-o'-lantern before midnight, never take down your decorations before November 1st, and never hurt the innocent. So those were kind of the guidelines that you can see which characters fail throughout the movie based on which ones they are not following.
Yeah. So because this does not follow your traditional anthology format, what happens is that all the stories are intertwined, which I thought was one of the most brilliant strokes of genius with this film.
Yes.
And this is why it's such an iconic film, more so than other anthology films or Halloween movies to be in general. I think it surpasses it, and I'm surprised no one else has bothered to do this as often, more often.
Well, and it's done so well for intertwining movies that you can, or like little shorts that you can then piece together later on. I know at one point he did want to put them separately on one of the DVDs so that each short was its own full short instead of intertwining, so you could watch each section as a whole. But I think it intertwines so well. Like, if you want to watch them as a short, you can watch them as a short, but it does such a great job as an entire movie of keeping track of everybody and everything. It works.
Yes, it does. And also, a lot of times they reference the time. I didn't think about this, so I recently watched it. It will reference back what time of the night it is by the broadcast on the television, where you have the news person kind of relaying just all the parades going on at that time.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the movie, it's technically the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is really cool if you pay attention. But going back to your the newscaster, the reporter actually starts with werewolves, zombies, and demons of every variety have descended on the normally sleepy town. And it's funny because that's all of the creatures in the stories.
Yeah.
So it does a good job of foreshadowing throughout the entire movie. Like I said, there's so many good references throughout the movie. It is so much fun.
It is. And the opening is like the perfect opening for a film like this, because one of the characters played by Leslie Bibb, which I every time I rewatch this movie, I keep forgetting that she's in this movie because you don't expect her to be in this type of movie. But she breaks one of the cardinal rules, which is don't extinguish the light in a jack-o'-lantern before midnight. And her reasoning is like the opposite of her husband's, which is so funny to me. And I had forgotten the actor who played her husband. I can't remember.
I know he was on Battlestar Galactica and everything like that. So
I had to go back, and this movie came out around the time, I believe, Dollhouse, Joss Whedon's Dollhouse.
Yes,
and that's why I remembered him. And then when I rewatched it again, I was like, "Why the hell do I know this actor from?" What did I don't? And I had to realize, oh, back when the movie came out, he was in Dollhouse, but I haven't seen him in shit since Dollhouse.
I know, well, and so it's funny because I remember seeing this the first time and being like, "Oh my God, Brian Cox is in this. Oh my God, Anna Paquin's in this," and it had some pretty big names, and then there's a bunch of smaller names behind it who I don't think have really gone anywhere, but it just adds to the movie so well because I arguably don't think there's a bad part of this movie.
No, I don't, and not even the kids. I thought the kids were actually really well.
The kids are really well done. I mean, the costumes, the makeup, the gore that you do see, the stories themselves, the way it intertwines, it is a geniusly written film.
Yeah.
And then it's executed so well.
Yeah. It's such an odd, like, it's a really well done Halloween movie and anthology film, but some of the characters are just so odd. Like, crap, what's his name? The guy who plays Steven. I can't think of his name anymore.
Oh, Dylan Baker?
Dylan Baker, who's like, that's your typical, in a typical horror anthology, you're gonna have this weird serial killer character, but he's like he's good, but he's also bad at it at the same time.
Yes, and that's part of the rules of Halloween, is which rules does he ultimately break that leads to his demise.
Yeah. Oh my God, because I had forgotten the scene, and we're going way out of order, but who cares?
I mean, we can go in order and break these down section by section because there's a lot to say about each section.
Well, we'll continue with the Steven characters because he shows up as a
principal.
He's a principal of a school, so all the kids know him, but that also leaves some deep resentment to him about kids and the fact that his wife died. Now, when you think about it, she died and he killed her.
And that's the part that I think I like the most about this segment called Principal, is that you can't tell the entire time if he's going to kill his son or if he killed his wife or what's going on. But there's little fragments that you pick up. Like, one of the things I didn't pick up until this time was that his son had decorated the house with paper jack-o'-lanterns. And if you look at them, all of the like eyes and mouths are human. They're not like your stereotypical cutout shapes. They're like cut out from magazines of human body anatomy, making the jack-o'-lantern faces. And there's little bits like when the kid's like, Charlie Brown's an asshole, and really Charlie is the kid he just killed. So is he talking about Charlie the kid he just killed, or is he actually talking about Charlie Brown?
Yes, it's very I don't even know how to describe it, but watching Baker as Charlie, who not as Charlie, but as Steven, who first sits down on his doorstep to watch Charlie, who wants to steal all the candy, have this conversation about Halloween traditions.
And always make and check your candy. And meanwhile, the kid's like being poisoned and like starts to throw up all this blood and stuff. And then the kids from later on in the movie come to the door and they're like, yeah, give us some candy. And then the one kid kind of realizes like, that might be real. And you can see him be like, no, thank you. And then of course, Sam is the last one there and he gets candy from him that later shows up in Krieg's segment, because that is the candy bar that he did check.
And then of course, Steven trying to drag Charlie's body into the house and how badly he does all of that because Charlie's a very big kid. And then like burying him in the backyard. You've got the whole humor of seeing Brian Cox next door like, what the hell are you doing? Tell your kid to stay away from me. And he literally throws a finger at the dog so the dog will leave him alone. Yeah.
It's so funny and it's so brilliantly written.
Yes. I am so glad that it didn't take its tone seriously in the wrong perspective. It is so much fun.
Yes.
Yet horrifying too. He manages to kind of blend them in enough because when you think that Steven's about to stab and he takes his son down to the basement with a giant knife and he holds it above his head and like, because earlier in that whole segment, you see that he was yelling at his kid to be quiet.
Yeah.
So
like I said, you don't know if he's gonna kill his kid. Like, did he kill his wife? Because that's what the kids are saying and everything like that. But the fact that he's then including his son in the normal Halloween tradition is very cute but very gruesome.
It is. It is cute and very gruesome because they're carving a head, Charlie's head.
Charlie's head.
Uh, but then I love the way the story really ends with you see Billy, his son Billy, sitting on the doorstep at the very end, like he was at the very beginning with Charlie. It was like, oh man, there's just some brilliant things
Yes.
in this film. Um, Now, of course, Steven shows up late in another story later on, but
Yes, but we'll get to that.
we'll get
I
to
want to go
that.
back to the opening where
Let's
you've
go
got
back to the
the
opening.
couple who the one loves Halloween, the wife hates Halloween, starts taking down the decorations, and you get your first major jump scare of the entire movie, which is him realizing she's still out there and uncovers one of the many ghosts in the yard as it's redecorated after she took everything down, and it's just her head. Her arm is like part of the dismembered body parts in the tree,
Yeah.
and it is really that first opening scare that I think is actually one of the last things that happens in the movie. I think that's Sam's last stop of the night.
That is his last stop of the night. But I love what Sam does when he redecorates the yard and with her head with a giant lollipop in her mouth.
Absolutely. That lollipop is just the best thing. And it appears multiple times throughout the movie. Sam himself appears multiple times throughout the movie, especially when people are breaking the rules. But fun fact about this one was they actually boiled the fake blood they used for her beforehand, so that when they filmed it, it would create that the steam when he killed her to show how cold it was.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they really took their time to do a bunch of stuff with the special effects of everything in this movie, which we'll get onto in one of the later segments as well, because it's very impressive. But even this short little beginning part shows you how much terror you will experience during this movie.
Yeah. So what's interesting is this couple here only really shows up 3 times in the whole movie, really, because they show up here and they show up later as they're walking through the parade. When it goes back in time, and then of course we all know what happens at the very end again.
Yes.
And it's interesting because this is the only one that does that. The rest of the story is kind of intertwined throughout the entire film, and they all interconnect. But this one is kind of like you're breaking a tradition. We're going to show you what happens when you break a tradition, and then it goes full on into the other stories. It's kind of like the Krieg story doesn't really play much into the overall film until the very end, and that's an excellent one to end on.
Yeah, I mean, once you realize that this is officially the ending of the movie that they're introducing the movie to, and you see how everything intertwines, it is so well done. Yeah. It is just brilliant how they all do intersect, even the slightest bit.
Yeah. And I would love to have been on set for trying to figure all this shit out when you're filming it and trying to what do you call it, maneuver and schedule all that type of stuff, because that's what makes this much different than other anthologies, is that all the stories are intertwined, characters are in multiple different ones. Like we see Krieg in Steven's story Principal, but we don't know it's Krieg yet. If you know Brian Cox's voice, then you know that's Brian Cox, but you don't really see
you see his face like once, otherwise you don't know it's really him. And then he also appears in one other one, and then he has his own entire story segment. Yeah. So, and it's the same with everybody else. Like you said, you see this couple in the opening act. You see the principal in multiple cuts of different ones. So it's very well done.
Yeah. Because to be you see, and the kids you see, and you don't think that they have a major part. A segment in this film, but you see the kids trick-or-treating, and then you kind of, and I forgot about this when I was rewatching it recently. I forgot that they were going around asking each house for the pumpkins.
Yes.
Until I rewatched it
for UNICEF.
But they have a purpose for it for when they get to their story. But we've talked a little bit about the principal story, and we've gone into the very opening story. Which story would you like to go to next?
So the next one is the Halloween School Bus Massacre, which is kind of what we were getting to anyways. So you've got these kids who were asking for the pumpkins for everybody, and basically they invite the like weird girl who's kind of Carrie-esque.
Yes.
She's Rhonda. Rhonda. She's just a little bit different, and they decide they're going to play a prank on her involving the urban legend of the Halloween school bus massacre, where parents had bribed the bus driver to basically get rid of their special needs kids.
Yeah.
They were like all like buckled into the bus, and they had like locks on their seatbelts because it was in like the 70s or 80s or something like that. But basically the bus is driven off the cliff. The bus driver escapes at the last minute, and all of the children drown, and nobody ever hears from the bus driver again, and nobody tried to find the bus because people didn't want it found. So these kids basically bring Rhonda to this old quarry where they crashed the bus, and it starts off really creepy. You're thinking, okay, maybe the kids are getting attacked, and it's like, no, they're just playing a prank on her. But they take all the jack-o'-lanterns, and I think they start extinguishing them in the water in the quarry. And that's when the zombie children rise from the watery grave and start murdering these evil children who are terrorizing Rhonda. And Rhonda at first is like, okay, it's a joke, it's part of the whole act. But then she figures out it's real, and she basically escapes, leaving all of the kids who were tormenting her to their death. And the whole time, a lot of people have argued she's slightly on the spectrum. So people have said that like the kids do not fight or go after her because she is one of them. She is also being terrorized, which goes against the don't hurt the innocent. But she also has her own jack-o'-lantern that she keeps lit the entire time that is acting as a spell of protection on her, which is really brilliantly done. It also goes to the end or the beginning of the movie where she's almost hit by a car while she is dragging her wagon with the same jack-o'-lantern in it, and she is not hit because she is still being protected. So it can be very sweet, but it is super creepy. It is super dark. And it just is probably one of the creepiest parts of the entire movie for me. Like all the other ones, I was like cheering for deaths and stuff, but this one I was like, this is creepy. The whole thing is sad. Like
it's a sad story.
The urban legend is very sad and everything else. They did actually have actors cast as the children who did have different kinds of needs so that they weren't having anybody fake being those needs. Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, originally that was supposed to be a whole different story where it was going to take place in a pumpkin patch, and the kids lure Rhonda there to play with her, and then it reveals that they're ghosts, and then she forgot that she's one of them. But the director felt that that was too much of a common trope of the, oh my God, they were dead all along. So they rewrote it as this. And I think this fits much better as to keeping the traditions of Halloween.
Oh, so do I. I think this was, and the set design for the quarry with the bus half sticking out.
It's so good. It is so creepy.
That is really creepy. It's creepy for two reasons. One, the bus is not covered up with water at all, but it's also creepy because they also mention the kids notice that the bus is there, and why is the bus there? And you're kind of wondering, well, the story, does it start off early because the bus is revealed, and maybe because it's Halloween, the kids' spirits are come out and play on Halloween Day, or is it because they play a prank on an innocent that this all happens because of that? And the bus was always there, and then you have neglectful parents who just didn't care, and they just completely forgot about the bus that was there because they didn't want to know. And
they didn't want to know about the bus.
And that's even worse because then people would see the buses there. These kids have access to get down there. And, even though it's an abandoned, they plainly say it's an abandoned rock quarry. So no one goes there on a regular basis.
Yes.
But still, it's still creepy that no one bothered to go down there. And also could be that no one knows that's where they drove the bus. It's just a legend.
Yeah, they didn't know the exact spot, and these kids just happened to find it down there. Or maybe everybody's known the school bus was down there all along, and they just left it alone.
Yeah, there's a lot of eerie things on this story alone. This story is, yeah, you're right. This is probably the more disturbing story because of those aspects, because it has to deal with the children. But I think it works because it's the only story that really deals with children and the traditions
Yes.
of Halloween.
And it shows that nobody is ever safe, children included. If you're going to be an asshole, you're going to get killed.
Oh, that's so right. I think was it 4 kids get killed down there,
Yeah.
which is great because you hear them screaming and being dismembered as the elevator is going up with Rhonda, and she just doesn't care.
Yeah. She's like, nope. If it's a prank, then cool. But you know what? You were all bullies. Screw you.
Oh Jesus, which is so hilarious. Okay. Moving on to our next story. Which one would you like to go to next?
So the next one is Surprise Party, which features a bunch of like 20-something-year-old girls.
The teenage. Oh yeah, 20-something. They're not teenagers. Those are
Yeah, they're not teenagers. They're 20-somethings, and they talk about their Halloween tradition where they go out and they party, and they start making fun of Anna Paquin because she's a virgin. I don't know if they explicitly say she's a virgin or what it is, but it's her first time, and so they're making fun of her. They all have like princess costumes, which are really cute and really funny come later on. They decide to dress Anna Paquin up as Little Red Riding Hood because that's basically what happens. The first time somebody comes with them on this, they always make them dress up as Little Red Riding Hood. Meanwhile, the rest of them are dressed up as like Cinderella, Snow White, and Little Bo Peep. But they're like picking up dates and they're going to a bonfire, and Anna Paquin's character is like, well, I still need to pick up a guy, and this creepy guy keeps like following her through the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a vampire is what it is hinted at being. But she's attacked by him in the woods at one point, and you just hear like screaming and all this other stuff, and then it cuts to the bonfire, and you see all the other girls there, and Anna Paquin arrives with the vampire, and it ends up being the principal, who had gone out in search of some other more adult victims instead of just children. And that's when things take a turn.
Now, before we get to that, to the story, I would like to add that we do see a scene with him, the principal Stephen, as the vampire early, where he takes his first victim, and in an alleyway, which seems really cliche.
Like during the parade.
During the parade, where there's a ton of people, which is actually quite funny because when he kills, or he's on the verge of killing his victim, she kind of wanders out to the parade, but they kind of, oh wait, everyone's dressed like I am actually now, and they ignore her. And we come and we see the couple from the very beginning who just ignore her. And of course, the vampire comes back to her and leaves her body in plain sight for everyone to see.
Yes. But this whole thing is genius. So you've got Little Red Riding Hood going through the woods. She finds a vampire and brings them back to the flame pit, and they start playing the song called Cry Little Sister, where, if you are familiar with Lost Boys, foreshadows a very important scene where everybody gets destroyed. Because these are not just women, they are fucking werewolves.
Yeah, instead of vampires, they're werewolves killing a vampire. I love that reference.
And it's just all of the men they bring there in general. Like, they've got Bo Peep ushering the sheep into the bonfire, and they've got these princesses bringing them in who are oh so sweet and kind, and then you've got Little Red Riding Hood, who is literally a wolf in clothes. So it's a lot of fun. You get some of the best change work. So the whole transformation was done practically because he said it was so hard to get something fake to look nice unless you did it practically. Mm-hmm. But he actually got Tatopoulos Studios.
Oh, Patrick Tatopoulos.
Yes, who did The Lycans in Underworld, Cursed, Silent Hill, Last Voyage of the Demeter, The Ruins, I Am Legend. They do so many different movie monsters, and you can tell it is gorgeous. Yeah. It is so well done.
Because it's practical.
It is, and the whole transformation is brilliant, and then like it starts off super sexy, and then they like rip off their skin and become werewolves, and then later on you see them again, and they're like she's all like a sexified Red Riding Hood instead of a like super like closed off Red Riding Hood, but it's so well done. I mean, the whole werewolf thing, they're just brilliant. The whole, and going back and watching it, looking at all the little hints that they make for her, like in the costume shop,
Yes.
is just genius. The rewatch value of this movie alone is fantastic.
Yes, because there are a lot of those everything they talk about. You may think it's just these women just talking generally speaking, but they're
Yes.
all little hints of every of precursor.
Yeah, like at one point her the sister calls her the runt of the litter and she always
Yeah.
has to take care of her and it's literally because she's part of the pack and she is the runt of the litter. Um but it's funny because the blind date she chooses for her, the giant baby, is actually the same great child from 13 Ghosts. So, yeah, he ends up playing a lot of characters like that. He was also Minor 49er in Scooby-Doo 2.
Oh, Jesus.
But he plays a lot of the same characters in horror for that reason.
Oh, Jesus.
Also during this scene when they've got the costume shop, the little kid spying on all of them is the actor for Sam. And he's also
really?
he's sucking on a lollipop too, which is also your little hint. They're not the same person, but they are the same actor.
Well, I did not know that. That's good to know. I'm
Yes.
rewatch the film again, and with that in mind, and watching what he does as a little kid before he becomes Sam. Because and we're gonna have to talk about Sam separately. But I love
Yes.
the fact that the werewolf transformation is all these women ripping off their skin and
Yes.
feeling what's underneath. I thought that was a brilliant stroke of genius. And of course, we see the full on werewolf because the werewolf is literally staring at Steven, who's incapacitated on the ground, as Anna Paquins is becoming one.
Well, and it was one of those things that they point out. So, like in Steven's whole bit as the principal bit, he tells his son to go watch It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which Lucy during that movie says you always have to pick a costume that is opposite your character. So he should know better going after Little Red Riding Hood what to expect.
Oh, that's actually interesting.
So you've got all these people who are not playing themselves because that's what you're supposed to do. Meanwhile, he goes dressed up as himself and doesn't follow the rules. He goes off by himself. He preys on the innocent, stuff like that. So it's funny.
Well, this is probably for me the funniest out of all of them because you're watching these ladies get together to have a party sequence, and this is probably one of the only sequences I recognize because of the song, the my lost reference. I didn't for some reason some of the other ones I didn't pick up until I rewatched the movie because I've seen Lost Boys way too many times. I kind of picked up on that because of the song, but there are so many references in this film like that. They're done so well because they never take you out of the film, but they just add another layer to the film.
Yes, and we can talk more about some of those later because there are some very fun ones.
Yeah, we'll have to touch upon those. So going from this story, which ones do we have left?
So the only one we have left is Sam. So that is the Krieg story. So you go back to the principal's neighbor, who is Krieg, and he's this old, grumpy old man who doesn't want to give candy to trick-or-treaters. He's just generally rude. And the kids like throw eggs at his lawn and a bunch of other stuff, but he ends up having like one of the worst nights of his life where he goes from yelling at kids to being terrified for his life. And then you see why he was screaming at the neighbor to help him earlier in the movie. So he is just kind of a grump. The house is egged. The front lawn gets filled with jack-o'-lanterns. And then Sam ends up visiting at some point, and his entire home is just covered in like Halloween sayings.
Yes.
And there is this brutal fight with Sam like crawling on the ceiling and all this other stuff. There's so many references in this. You've got like the ball rolling down the staircase from The Changeling. You've got the scene from Pet Sematary where the kid slices his Achilles tendon. There are just so many great scenes. And this is where Sam comes with the candy bar he got from the principal earlier, which, surprise, surprise, has a razor in it. And as he fights with Sam. At one point, Sam's mask gets removed, so you get to see his creepy little baby face. And it ends with this huge battle. Krieg is busted to shit, but he gives Sam a piece of candy. And Sam's like, okay, you did your part. And he just leaves.
Yeah, it does, but it leaves Krieg with a newfound appreciation of the holiday
and respect for the holiday. But meanwhile, there's so many other little things. Like I said, you could see the point where he's looking out the back window, screaming at the principal next door. Some of my favorite bits about this is that there's the part where Sam's hand gets like cut off. Yes. And Krieg is like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And it's literally the scene from The Thing. And then he actually requested to wear wig and prosthetics to look like John Carpenter because the director is such a huge fan of Carpenter. He put so many references in this movie regarding him.
You know what? He does look like John Carpenter.
Yes.
When I think about it.
So they added, Brian Cox decided to add the little wheezing bit, which was then introduced into his other character that you find out he plays in the movie, which after this scene is complete, you see his fireplace going and it zooms in on a photograph of him being the bus driver with the kids.
Yes.
And there's little hints everywhere about that. He's got the class ring. He's actually got however many locks are on the front door is the same as the number of kids on the bus.
Oh.
But I'm going to jump to his complete ending, which actually happens a little bit later in the conclusion. But the next set of trick-or-treaters he has are those kids from the bus.
I love that as the ending for the film.
It is
that was brilliant stroke.
So good. And the way that all of this always ties in together, it goes throughout all of it. It shows what happens with all of these people, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what else did I have? That's about it for that sequence. But yeah, then we get to the conclusion. So you've got Krieg giving out the candy to trick-or-treaters, and he gets killed or something by the zombie kids. Billy sits on his father's porch handing out candy. Rhonda pulls her wagon across the street with the jack-o'-lantern, almost being hit by the werewolf girls, who are all laughing at each other. And that's when the two first characters we see finally arrive home, and Sam sees the wife extinguishing things early. So it's funny how you get this whole roundabout thing where you end the night, you restart the night, and then you get all the way to the end of the night again.
Yeah.
But it is, like we said, it is brilliantly written. It is gruesome. It is gory. It is so smart. There are so many great references in this. And that's why it's one of my favorite movies. Plus Brian Cox, because I love Brian Cox.
Yeah. I think this works better than you would expect it to because it's an anthology film, and like you said, they could have just done each story separately, but because of the way it is edited, it is almost seamlessly like flawless. Because you see things at the very beginning that then pay off at the very end, or things that you see in the middle that pay off later in the story, or things at the end that then reference something at the very beginning. And it allows you as the audience member to want to go back and rewatch it to see all the stuff you missed. It's kind of like The Sixth Sense in that respect. You watch The Sixth Sense once, and then you realize how much stuff you missed. So you go back and rewatch it again to see all the stuff that you missed. And that's how I always pictured this film. It's very rare that this happens. And I put this on the pedestal as one of the best anthology films out there.
100%.
Because of the way they integrate the story. Now, this isn't new per se, because you've seen a lot of anthology movies that do that, but they're not horror anthologies. They'll be mostly dramas or comedies and stuff like that, where the stories are integrated, not integrated, but they're separate, and they're just cut up in between them. This is a horror anthology, and most horror anthologies stick to the traditional format. But we have to thank God that Daughtry decided not to with this film. I don't think this would nearly be as effective if it had stayed with the traditional format.
And it wouldn't, because it really shows that this is one whole area. This is going on everywhere on Halloween.
Yeah.
And it's actually really well done to the point that this movie is literally for everybody, because every single one of the shorts in this are a different period in time that you would experience Halloween. So you've got the kids going trick-or-treating and doing the whole like spooky stories. You've got the teenagers who are ultimately like doing the wrong thing but the right thing and partying and being dangerous on Halloween. You've got the parents who are always telling their kids to check their candy, and then you've got the grumpy old person who's like, I'm over this, I want nothing to do with this. But it really is a movie for every age, because you know somebody who is in this movie.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons why I've always loved this movie too. Besides having little Sam characters in my office space to remind me of the movie. So let's get to talking about Sam himself. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is that I was a little surprised the first time I saw it when he gets shot by Krieg, and we realize that he's like a pumpkin monster himself.
Yes, it is one of my, I love Sam to death. He is freaking adorable. And you actually see his face near the beginning of the movie after the main montage. But Daughtry described his head as a cross between an embryo and a pumpkin, which I think is really, really funny and cute, but that's just me. But people keep asking him where the origin of Sam is, and they've gone back and they've referenced a little bit in the graphic novels, and how he relates to the old celebration of Samhain, which is where Sam comes from.
Mm-hmm. And they mentioned that too in the story.
Yes, but then Daughtry's still trying to figure out his origins. He doesn't want to show too much and give away like they did with like Freddy and Jason, where you then get these crazy origin stories. He wants them to be more of a mythical thing. But the one thing that he referenced is that he would love to show him being born in a pumpkin patch. And the one thing that he cites, which I absolutely love, because it references one of my favorite other artists, is there's a great Charles Addams painting of a pumpkin patch, and you see hundreds of pumpkins, and you see one, and it's carving itself. And this was the one from Charles Addams from October 1989, and it was the cover of the New Yorker magazine. Oh. And it is very cute. It is very like just scenic, and it's not creepy at all. I mean, it's Charles Addams. It's going to be a little bit creepy and kooky, but it's not terrifying. But it perfectly matches what he is going for with this, which I think makes a lot of sense. And that's one of the main things that was holding him up with the sequel, is he wanted to make sure it was done correctly. So I know he has a script, and now it's just finding the time to make it.
Yeah, I heard he had the script too, but I was like, well, he went off to do which one of the MonsterVerse movies? I can't remember.
So after this he did, well, let me start from the beginning. He started as an animator and illustrator for MTV and Nickelodeon. He mostly did Blue's Clues and Little Bill. He then went and co-wrote X2 and Superman Returns. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up directing and co-writing Krampus, which is also another great part of this universe. And then he did Godzilla King of the Monsters. And then he went and co-wrote Godzilla vs. Kong. In between all this, he's done all the graphic novels. He has been the main person behind all of those for that and for the Krampus series. Mm-hmm. But he has been working on a sequel for this, as well as he's been, for the last 5 years now, I think, working on a Hellraiser TV series for HBO. So all of that stuff is very much in process. I think Hellraiser is ahead of Trick or Treat at this point, just because he's already co-signed with HBO to make it. But in between somewhere, and not doing the MonsterVerse because he's been influencing the writing for all of those movies as well, he's been trying to get this done at the same time. So we will get one at some point, but it's now finding the time.
Yeah, the problem I think with the problem of finding something like this is trying to find the sweet spot for a budget, and then making sure you can make the film with that budget, and then finding the studio to release it and give it a proper release, unlike the first film.
Yes, whereas especially if he's trying to do the sequel justice, where it's not just like Sam in space. Where he's got another great set of stories and how it will time into how stuff happens now versus when it did in 2007 when it was initially released.
Well, my opinion is only that he should stay with Halloween traditions and figure out stories that revolve around there using other icons. Other than no, like don't repeat a werewolf story or the demon children and I guarantee you that's pretty hard to come up with new concepts for that, but still have each story revolve around those Halloween traditions that we are all familiar with. That is what will essentially make the film worthwhile. I don't think you ever define who Sam is. I think Sam is just great not being defined.
Not being defined is wonderful. And like maybe adapting some of the graphic novel shorts would be cool, or retiming some of the original stories, like instead of it being the kids pranking them in a cemetery, you've got some kind of like phone thing where they're like trying to do video pranks or something, or they go to a haunted house that's a little too real, something like that. So it'll be very interesting to see how it adapts.
No, we just have them doing an animated version of Trick or Treat.
I mean, he would illustrate the whole thing. It's beautiful. Another fun thing about this movie is they had to create their own candy names. So pay attention next time you watch the movie, because a lot of them are named after people who worked on it and somewhat. Because they had a lot of time getting past trademarks, because all of our candy is either poisoned or filled with razor blades.
God, I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right.
I never really realized it until this time. So I was like, okay, I've got to take a look at it. And then what was the other fun one? I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, it took like 40 days to shoot, mostly in the rain. So they had giant tarps covering their sets. It had a budget of $12 million, and the box office was only just under $28,000 in the UK, because otherwise it only filmed at or showed at festivals.
Yeah.
And then it went direct to DVD. But as we said, this has a huge cult following. It has made so much money since then.
Yeah.
To the point that FearNet, which I forgot existed, even used to have little trailers involving Sam for each holiday. So there was like an Easter one, a Father's Day one. There was one with a snowman. So there's a lot of cute little bits that Sam still appears in that you can see everywhere, even to the point that they had a Sam Yule log, one year that you could watch. So I know I did that one too many times, but definitely recommend the 4K Arrowvision one that they just released in the last year. They have so many behind the scenes bits of creating costumes, makeup, just the overall making of the movie. It's genius. He's a lot of fun to watch. He's a lot of fun to watch create everything in here. And like I said, he's put so much passion into the expansion of this universe, especially when it goes into Krampus then. It is just well done.
Yeah, I can't wait till we discuss Krampus in the future podcast, because I absolutely love Krampus as well.
Yes.
We should just give him all the holidays. I'd like to see what he does with Thanksgiving or Easter or some shit like that.
I do love Eli Roth's Thanksgiving movie, so I don't think I need to see anything with that one. But yeah, seeing an Easter movie from him would probably be very genius.
Yeah, you do the Easter, but you have to a group of people who don't follow the Easter traditions.
Yes.
It would be brilliant.
And that's part of one of the little shorts that they did for FearNet is the Easter traditions, which is really funny. But one more thing that I just found in my notes. So this movie does have one of the rarest feats in horror, is that as scary as this movie is, every single death occurs off camera. It is always extracted by another thing in the way, or there is a smart camera cut so that you never actually see somebody being killed. You see the precursor and the aftermath, but you never directly see them being killed.
No, that,
Yeah, and I did not realize that until I saw that, and I was like, that is a feat right there.
Well, the question would be why he did that. I don't have it in front of me. What was this rated? I'm assuming it's rated R.
I believe it was rated R.
Because that would be interesting if he was trying to make a film that would be accessible to all audiences, as opposed to just being rated R.
Yes.
But
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like I said, it's something you don't really think about until you think about it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that's the fact that he was able to do that is genius because you see the horrors leading up to it and then the horrific result. Like you don't, it's like when they don't show the monster the entire movie and what you picture is scarier than whatever they can come up with.
Yeah.
Yes, it was rated R for horror, violence, some sexuality, nudity, and language.
There is a lot of sexuality in the whole little bonfire scene.
Yeah. They literally roast hot dogs on a fire.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so thinking back on Trick or Treat and all that we've said about Trick or Treat, I'm trying to make sure that we give everyone who an ideal of everything that they can see and appreciate about the film. What have we not talked about?
We've talked about the effects. Yeah. Everything is just like we said, the story itself is genius. The acting is fantastic. The makeup is fantastic. The set dressing, it feels like any other Halloween-esque town that you would watch.
Yeah.
And like I said, I really can't find anything wrong with this movie. It's short and it's sweet. It's only like 80 minutes.
Yeah, I forgot it was that short too.
Yeah, and it's nice and tied up. There's no filler. Everything has a meaning, and I think I know what the worst part is. We've had to wait over 15 years for a sequel.
Well, the worst thing for me was waiting the 2 years or so while it sat on the shelf.
The fact that this was such a sleeper and now it is everywhere. Yeah, like it is so hard to believe that this was so underwhelmed beforehand.
Well, this is one of those films that because it sat on the shelf for a long time, the release studio didn't know what to do with the movie. They dumped it instead of giving it a theatrical release. And if they had given it a theatrical release, everyone says it would have been a huge hit. It's one of those. It's an unfortunate side effect of our industry in the U.S. being dominated by huge studios. It's a $12 million low budget film, and they don't know how to freaking market it for a theatrical release because they don't deal in that. They don't even want to deal in $50 million movies anymore. They want to deal in the major 90 to plus $250 million films now. That's what most studios want to deal with. This film was like a really low budget film. They didn't know what they had until afterwards. And people told them it played at film festivals. It got great reviews, and they did not care. They just did not know how to market it. Or the other side is to market it to as big an audience as it needed. It would have cost them 3 times more than what the actual production budget of the movie was. You think about it, they're not going to put $12 million into promoting it. They're going to end up putting 20, 25 or more. And they probably say, well, that's not really worth it because the film's only $12 million. But in my opinion, it would have been well worth it.
Yeah. And now, and that's why I think he wants to do the right thing and fully respect what this sequel could be. Because if it messes up, it's going to ruin what already is there. And it's, as much as I would love a sequel, I don't want a sequel just because I'm scared of what would happen with it. But I mean, it's the graphic novels that are coming out. Kickstarter just had both of the master collections come out for anniversaries with extra artwork and content.
I know.
And I get them every single time because they're just so good.
I have to get the latest one. I have not. I've just got the original graphic novels for these and Krampus. But I know the anniversary ones keep adding more stuff.
Yes. So I've been getting all of them because, like I said, I love it. I love that Sam is everywhere. He pops up in like Halloween Horror Nights and Universal a lot. I mean, he pops up everywhere. He's in every single like little horror game now, or you can find little knickknacks with him on it. You can find earrings. You can find it's Sam the merchandise.
I hope that Daughtry is getting a big chunk of that merchandising on a film that no one gave a shit about when it originally came out. I really do hope that he's getting a huge chunk of that. That will make me happy that the film and he has actually gotten his props. Until of course he does another great film. It's sad that Krampus, as good as that movie is, I love that movie. It has not been as appreciated as Trick or Treat. But then again, that was the same year we had A Christmas Horror Story, which I hate to say I liked that Krampus a little bit more than what was designed in Krampus, but the story for Krampus is simply amazing.
Well, and I think that because Krampus came out much later, I think we're still in like the middle of its growing period where it's getting more and more popular.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so too.
so I think at some point we will get the whole like, why are you letting this guy do sleeper hits 24/7? So
Yes, I know it's crazy, but hey, as long as he comes back and does it, like I really appreciate when he does a horror film and then goes off and does something else. Just like I appreciate Sam Raimi when he does a horror film and he goes off and do something else. I'm looking forward to his new horror film he has
yes,
coming up because it's been a while for me and him to do a horror film, and he's so good at it. And even when he produces some really good horror films. So I just love watching when he does something like that, because we horror fans, we have to stick with each other. Our great directors are all going off and doing big budget films now. We have to appreciate when they come back and do a smaller film. Hopefully Peter Jackson will come back and then we'll be really good.
yes.
But yes, are there any other things we need to discuss about Trick or Treat before moving into rating?
I don't think so. Like, there's so much great stuff to experience and re-experience with every rewatch of this movie. Like I said, it's short enough that you can throw it on whenever, and you can watch bit by bit, or you can watch the whole thing. But it's a lot of fun, but it's also genuinely creepy.
Mm-hmm. For everyone listening to the podcast, we like to rate the films from 1 to 5, 1 being horrible, 5 being amazing, because we can do that. So where on the spectrum, Panazzo, would you put Trick or Treat?
I'm gonna put him as a 5 because it is overall a great movie. It is genuinely scary at points. And it is just all around well written, well acted, well designed, well created. It is a lot of fun. You can see why it's got such a big cult following. So I recommend it to every single person who wants to watch horror movies, who's just beginning horror movies. It is good all around.
I'm going to second that 5. It's always been a 5 for me, and that's a rarity for me when I find a horror film that reaches 5. But one of the biggest reasons why I give it a 5 is everything you've already said, but also this film is one of the best examples of a Halloween film, a Halloween tradition, a movie that you can watch every year by yourself, with your family, with your friends. You will always be enjoyed by it, not just because of the entertainment value, but because it's so rich in story and traditions and everything else. Like we've said before, there is not a wasted moment in this film. And at 82 minutes, it does so much with so little. And yet it becomes one of those films that, and I will say this, most of our greatest movies that we can put 5s to are films that just never found their audience when they were originally released. And they become cult movies. I will say these 2 movies because both of these movies tanked at the box office, but became these huge, influential films. One is John Carpenter's The Thing. By all means, is a timeless and brilliant film, which I'd give it 5. And then I would go all the way to the other spectrum, and some people may not actually agree with me on this one, but generally speaking, everyone probably say this. But I would also put on that pedestal a movie called Citizen Kane, which takes the box office. And also, It's a Wonderful Life, which also tanked the box office because people didn't get it when they originally came out. This happens very rarely, and those are movies that I would put out of 5s because they have a huge. Well, Citizen Kane doesn't have a huge rewatchable quality for most people. Most people watch that and say, "Oh my God, why am I watching this shit?" But movies like It's a Wonderful Life and The Thing, and I can keep going on about horror movies. Horror movies are like the one genre that gets underlooked and underappreciated, which is unfortunate.
Well, and the worst part of this is it didn't even tank at the box office. It was never released at the box office, so it couldn't do anything. But you see, like, it blew up the festival circuit. People were begging for it to be released, and then it just got the straight-to-video release. And now they showed a festival, I think it was like 5 years ago for the anniversary, that they went to a giant cemetery and projected it onto one of the giant walls there so everybody could watch it outside of a cemetery.
That would be amazing. And it's a Halloween tradition. I mean, dude, I've watched this so many Halloweens. I can't even fathom.
Yes.
I don't even watch Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween anymore, because I've seen it way too many times.
Well, and I mean, like, it's Halloween, the movie, has become more of a Michael Myers thing where this is literally about
Halloween.
the event of Halloween. So it's great to put on every single year. It's like it's up there with the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Yep.
You need to watch this every single year as a tribute to Halloween itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why and that's how I see Daughtry's Krampus as well. It's like traditions of Christmas all rolled into that one thing, and I would love. That's why I say he needs to do another holiday movie. Let's just have him dominate all the holidays with a horror tradition movie, and I think the world would be a better place. Any final words about the movie?
I can't. Like I say, I recommend this to everybody. Just watch it. You're going to love it.
All right. So I want to thank you, Panazzo, for joining me on this conversation of horror in which we dissected and tore apart the movie Trick or Treat, or maybe we just watched Sam take apart people in this movie. I want to thank everyone who's watching the show. We hope you've enjoyed this show and you've enjoyed all the other episodes that are part of our anthology theme month. We want you to actually go out there and appreciate some of these anthology films because a lot of them just do not get enough love and appreciation. That being said, make sure to check out all the other episodes that we've had throughout the month and throughout the career or the life of this series, because we've touched upon a lot of great movies and other anthology films as well. Make sure to check out our sister podcast, Conversations in Full Color, which is all about comic books, manga, and graphic novels, which I guess I'll have to go back and do some Trick or Treat graphic novels on the show. From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we hope that you are still enjoying our show, and make sure to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Have a great day, and keep watching those films. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.